Ahoj, já jsem Nick. So if you ever try to say anything in Czech, you know that the verbs can be a pain because they always end differently. Hrát, jíst, sportovat, brečet, učit se. It can be difficult. So today, our goal is to start using Czech verbs quickly and get right into it. Before we start with any verbs, the verb to be and personal pronouns have to be under your belt. To learn more about this, check out the video from last week called Start Czech in 6 minutes. Okay, let's get right into it. So in Czech, as you probably know, there are several different verbs with different conjugation. And basically, the only thing they really have in common is that the infinitive form ends with T. For example, to eat, jíst. To sleep, spát. To do sport, sportovat. To be, být. And we'll be looking at verbs that not only end with T, but end with ovat. And these verbs are great because they're really simple to conjugate and there's a lot of them to start off with. At first, let's check out this little text. And just a small disclaimer, this isn't a completely natural way of speaking, but it's for the sake of the example. Moje rutina. Ráno studuji, potom sportuji. Rád posiluji. Potom pracuji na Czech Progress a komunikuji s rodinou a přáteli. Nerad četuji. Rád telefonuji. Without being too concerned with the meaning, try looking at the text again and finding the verbs. I know it's hard, so let's have another look. Studuji, pracuji, komunikuji, četuji, telefonuji. If we take the infinitive of every verb we saw in the text, we get studovat, to study, pracovat, to work, sportovat, to do sport, posilovat, to work out, chatovat, to chat, and telefonovat, to phone. Okay, Nick, that's all nice and all, but how do I get the verb I want from the infinitive? So remember how I said the verbs end with ovat? So to create the correct form for the correct person, we have to take this ending and replace it with one of the endings you can see in the table. So we, in our example, had the first person singular. So we took the verb, for example, studovat, took ovat away and added uj, studuj. Pracovat, take ovat away and added uj, pracuj. And if you want to create any other form of the verb, just add the correct ending. Pretty simple, right? Okay, so let's check out some other examples. How would you say he chats? So we have the infinitive chatovat. It would be then on chatuje. How would you say you work? We have the infinitive pracovat. Take the ending uješ. Ty pracuješ. Great. And a good thing with these verbs, or with any verbs, I guess, in Czech, if you want to create the negative form, just add the prefix ne. So I work, já pracuji. I do not work, já nepracuji. How would you say the sentence Vaclav does not work? This is a real example, and I'm just kidding, Vaclav. And it would be Vaclav nepracuje. Okay, so we know the logic and understand the grammar a bit, but how do I know now which verbs end with ovat? And there are many Czech verbs that end with ovat, and I'll put you a list somewhere here on the right, and I'll put a link in to the article below with more examples. But there's one little tip I can tell you which can be pretty handy, and that is most foreign words end with ovat. So if we have the words telefonovat, chatovat, skypovat, all of these come from foreign origins. Chat, phone, and we add in Czech the ending ovat to create a verb from them. And this can be quite great because if it can really make your life simple when you want to communicate from day one only in Czech. So imagine if you want to say, I don't know, I use Facebook in the morning, but you forgot how to say I use. So you can just say Facebookuji ráno. So in this example, we just took the word Facebook, added ovat to create the infinitive, and then just chose the correct ending like with any other verb. So be careful, this is probably not the best way for a grammar test, and certainly don't tell them Nick advised you to it like that, but I really believe it can be handy, and it helped a lot of my students to really start communicating more in Czech and avoid any English words. That was a lot of information, so let's sum it up. All infinitives of verbs in Czech end with T. Today we were looking at the verbs that end with ovat because they're just the coolest ones. And they have quite a simple conjugation if you look at the table. If you want to create the negative, just add the prefix ne. The cool thing about the verbs that end with ovat is that many foreign words are created into verbs using ovat. So we gave the example of Skype ovat, chat ovat, Facebook ovat. Not only will this allow you to understand these verbs and remember them easier, it's also possible to create your own verbs, kind of like Facebook ovat or Instagram ovat. Děkuji, že studujete. Thank you that you're studying. I just tried to use 2 ovat verbs. And if you want to practice more and read more about this topic, look at the graphs, try some activities. There's a great article written by my friend Vaclav in the link below. Also, if you want to practice Czech by immersion, check out the beginner podcast my friend Vaclav and I are doing. You can find it on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or anywhere basically where you get your podcast. Last off, this is just current news for anyone watching it right now or after the release date. There's a A0 course we're doing and we have a couple of spots left, so if you would be interested in a 1-month course for complete beginners, check out the link below. Děkuji, and we'll see you next week. Ciao!